It's quite common. All you have to do is check it. It's very common. Nowadays on social media, you can read stories about men, the horrible things men do to their wives, to their daughters, to their neighbors, to their fellow man, You can read stories about how a man raped his own daughter, killed his wife, poisoned his kids. I remember the last story I read was about a man who poisoned his whole family, you know. And when you see stories like that over and over in the newspaper and in social media, there's a tendency to have this kind of narrow mindset that all men are bad or you can't trust men, that some of them can snap and just commit some savage acts that and they will kind of explain it. That's usually the mindset. But what I want to do is let's look at it a little bit different because it's easy to just generalize and say this is all bad or this people are all bad or all good. What I've come to realize during my experience interacting with a lot of men is that I've come to understand that a lot of men are broken. A lot of men are wounded. A lot of men are injured. And I'm not talking about the injury you see on your hand or your arm. I'm talking about a lot of men, you know, they have been damaged and they have suffered severe loss, they have been broken. And this is the reason why some of them act out. This is the reason why some of them have this unchecked aggression towards people around them, especially their wives and their kids. This is the reason why some of them can just snap as the slightest provocation, because a lot of them have been broken, wounded. So now, the question is now, what is it or what describes a wounded man? How do you know a wounded man? A wounded man or a broken man is a man who has experienced loss, he has experienced disappointment, he has experienced traumatic events in his life, and these acts or these even forms of abuse is not just a one-off incident, it's something that was repeated for a period of time to the extent that it's now affected how the person sees the world, acts towards people. It affects how they see the world, act towards people, and even affects how they think about every area of their life. You know, so the articles you read on social media, they never really dive in to get to the root of the problem. They just show you it's like they have this fast food approach to things. They just show you this man did this, that's it. Then people are at the comment section, oh, I cannot believe blah 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 blah. They don't get down to it. A lot of young men that you see today, they have been broken in the sense that they have been traumatized by either their family, by their friends, by their guardians, or by their neighbors. A lot of them have been abused, which is quite a lot. From research I've done, quite a lot of young men have been sexually abused, psychologically abused, and this abuse, when it's coming from parents, it can happen for 20 years, 25 years, For 25 years, you have been hearing, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not handsome. Oh, you are everything you do, you are always having problem with you. Oh, why can't you be smart? You're not even smart. People are better than you. You've been hearing that, for 15, 20 years from the people who are supposed to encourage you, from the people who gave birth to you. What do you think will happen to that kind of person if you keep hearing that over and over and over again? So a lot of assuming that maybe your uncle that stays with you have been abusing you for a long time, and 10 years, 20 years, nobody knows that you've been abused, or suddenly the abuse stops after 10 years, and then now you're supposed to carry on with life like as if nothing ever happened. So when we are talking about this issue, is a very, very interesting thing. And I want you to capture that. It's a very, very interesting thing because when a man has been hurt, you know, he is going to hurt other people. And that's what I want you to realize. When a man has been hurt, he is going to hurt other people. So what you realize is that when you understand that men who have been hurt or traumatized go ahead to traumatize other people, And again, I don't want to make it clear. They don't want to do it, they don't go out saying, oh, I'm going to traumatize other people, or they don't go out with a plan, oh, since this thing happened to me, I'm going to do it to somebody else. That's not what happens. What happens is that this thing has happened to them. And so when they get in relationships with women, with their children, they unknowingly recreate that same exploitative behavior. It may not be sexually abusing the child, it may be emotional abuse, it may be physical abuse. Just because you were beaten when you were a kid and you were abused physically does not mean you go and abuse your child physically. You may do another form of abuse. So, and again, when you understand that this happens, then you know that you have to be very, very careful when you are dealing with a broken man, because our society needs to fix these men, because our inability to fix these men or to tackle this issue of young men who have been abused means that we're going to create a lot of victims. So broken men, wounded men, you know, these are men that are hanging, their life is hanging by the thread. You know, some of them have lost hope in themselves. They have lost hope in other people. They have been disappointed so many times. And so they are they are carrying a hurt that is not healed, you know. And then when you come in contact with them, if you are not careful, you know, they can that hurt that they feel, they can inflict it on you. So since my parents didn't love me, you know, and they were beating me all the time, when I get into a relationship with my friend, maybe a good friend, we are friends, then I feel the need that I have to intimidate him or I have to fight him as a way of affirming myself that I'm a strong person. You get what I'm trying to say? So let's now look at what are some of the characteristics of a wounded man. What are some of the characteristics? I'm going to name some characteristics here that I believe we should look out for, and I believe there are things that gives a sign into who a person is. So that's what I'm going to do on this segment now, because it's going to be a two-part segment. I've done the introduction. I'm going to talk about the characteristics of a wounded man. Then next, I'm going to talk about how to heal a wounded man. When it comes to broken man or a wounded man, one characteristics you should pay attention to or you should note is that they see themselves as the victim. That's very, very interesting. They see themselves as the victim. And the reason why that is because of the years of the trauma they have experienced, whether it's from their parents or life has dealt them some really, really hard cards, or because of something that's happened to them in their life. Maybe they lost a loved one. They see themselves as the victim. They feel that life is happening to them, you know. And when you walk around with that mindset that you are the victim, understand what I'm saying? Then you see other people as playing important roles in your life. You see yourself like you're worthless, because if you see yourself as a victim in situations, you start to feel worthless, hopeless, because you cannot affirm anything. You cannot make things happen. You feel that people are taking advantage of you, even though it may not be your reality. But it's like I said, it's in your mind. They are victims. They see themselves as, oh, this person did this thing to me, that person did this thing to me. So that's how they're always looking at the world, that people are hurting them, people are affecting them. What other people are doing is affecting them. And other people don't take them into consideration when they are doing things. So they are always victims. They portray themselves as victims. Another thing you notice about people that are wounded is a lot of them don't feel that they deserve love. Oh, wait, so that can sink in. A lot of them don't feel like they deserve love. And that is very, very important. I see that a lot. A lot of them feel that, oh, they're not good enough, they're not beautiful enough, oh, If the lady I'm dating knows that so and so happened to me, that I was raped by my uncle, she may not love me. Or if the lady I'm dating or I want to be with figures out, sees this about me, she may say, oh, no, 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 she's not interested. You know, I am ugly. I'm not attractive. What will the lady see in my body? Stuff like that. So they feel that they cannot be loved. And like I said, all these things in the mind, really. It's in your mind, is happening. You know, you are the one. This commentary is playing in your head, you know. Oh, I cannot be loved. Oh, I cannot be loved. I'm not good enough. It's playing in your head. And the interesting part of this is, as this thing is happening, playing in your head, it's going to affect how you see the world. And not only will it affect how you see the world, it's going to affect how you deal with people in the world. It's going to affect your relationship with girls, you know. If you feel that you are not going to be loved or you are not lovable, then you may either avoid women completely, or when you want a woman, you feel you have to grovel and kneel and pet her and just like basically adore her and make her worship her. And the whole entire time, you want to make sure that she gives you approval, that like basically you just look at her like, oh man, you are God to me. And if you can love me, oh man, all my sins will be wiped away. You know, you look up to her. And this thing and those kind of things, they scare ladies, man. When you start worshiping them and putting them on pedestals and praying to them, those things scare ladies away. And then when that happens, it's like, oh, they said it, I cannot be loved. Oh. But what I want to say on that issue is, I have seen serial killers find love. People like Ted Bundy, Marlo Manson. No, Marlo Manson is not a serial killer though. The other Manson, I've forgotten his name, you know, that killed many people. I've seen those horrible human beings have wives and see their kids. So if people can love those animals that call themselves human beings who committed atrocities all over the world, then you being broken, someone can love you. It's just that you don't believe it. So because you don't believe it, you're acting it out. But if you really do believe that someone is going to love you, then you will see it will affect your behavior, and you'll be much more pleasing to be around. But when you feel nobody's going to love me, then you're going to be acting in ways that will be scaring other people off. And when they go, you're like, yeah, I said it, nobody's going to love me. One thing that you notice again about men who have been wounded is they live in the past. You know, they live in the past. You know, like I said, they have been traumatized. You know, either maybe their parents or their uncles or neighbors or a girl that they met when they were young that just destroyed them. You know, they have been they have been they have been hurt. You know, so they live in the past. So anything that so there are certain situations that trigger them. You know, let's say for example they've been hurt. You know, let's say for example that they've been hurt seriously by a girl, you know, who they were dating or who they were in love with. When the issue or when they see themselves in a situation when they are about to fall in love, you know, or a girl likes them and they like the girl, that situation triggers that thing that happened when they were young. So they may end up avoiding that romantic, they may not pursue that romantic relationship because they are afraid that that thing that happened when they were young, how that girl destroyed their ego, how that girl left them, whatever, you know, is going to play out. You know, since they are working with that hurt, you know, there are certain things that trigger the hurt. It may be something as simple as them seeing a couple kissing. You know, you may see me like on Valentine's Day or something, they see people kissing, a lady and a man kissing. Is like when they see that, that thing triggers them again. It's like she's not even fine. Maybe she will leave the man now. You know, these women, don't mind them, Joe. They will kiss this one now, go and kiss and that one. Maybe she's even dating two men, you know. So that romance triggers something in them, because that's a place where they were hurt. If you're one of those people that your parents abused you physically or psychologically, when you see a parent and their child walking together, they're having fun, you'll be like, that's how it is. Later now, when you go home, you'll probably be insulting this boy, beating the hell out of this boy when he messes up. Those things trigger you. You act anytime situations like that come up, you act a certain way, you have a certain opinion about things. So wounded men, they are like that, they live in the past and they cannot just get over that hurt. It's like they keep circulating, they can't get over it. You know, and the third characteristics I want to talk about hurt men is they are afraid of rejection. Whoa, they are afraid that a girl will say, nope, I am not interested. I don't want you. Oh, when that happens, oh boy, is that attack? They are afraid of rejection. Like rejection, a woman rejecting them is like one of the worst things that can happen to them. Why is that? They have been hurt. Remember that. Let's say a girl hurt them in secondary school or primary school. So now this hot person is going to go and meet a girl and like, oh hello, hi, babe, how are you? Will you be my girlfriend? It's like, no, no, I can't be. The whole thing takes him back to how he felt that time when the girl dumped him or said hello to him. So they are afraid of rejection. They are afraid of putting themselves in any scenario or situations that will trigger that rejection. Putting themselves in any way that people can say, no, I don't want you, or I want this, I don't want you. So they're afraid of putting themselves out there because they've been hurt before, they've been rejected. And again, another thing you have to note about rejection really is when as a psychologist, right, when I'm talking with some of these men, I try to go back to what happened to them because I know when they are having issues with romance, sometimes it's about what happened years ago. At first they will not admit something happened. So you have to go back with them. And then you have them talk about what happened, have them narrate the whole issue, listen to them, don't argue, don't doubt anything they say, just listen. And what I find very interesting is that a lot of the time, they over, they blow what happened out of proportion. The thing, a minor thing that may have happened that is nothing, over the years they have blown it, blown it, blown it. It becomes like this big giant issue. Let's say, for example, you wanted to dance with a girl during your socials, and she's like, no, I'm not dancing, right? You took that person and you went home, you cried, and maybe you were happy that other people were dancing with girls and you were not. Then 20 years later, that thing is still affecting you. So you go there like, oh, the girl told me no, I was so embarrassed. My friends were laughing at me. They said I'm ugly. And those things are things their mind have just fixed to the story, you know, and those things will hold them down, because they've blown this thought out of proportion. It has happened over the years, and they have blown it happened that time, and they've blown it out of proportion. It now becomes a major stumbling block in their life, and it makes it difficult for them to even now move forward in the area of romance or in any other area, simply because it has now become like a cornerstone in their life. Oh, they rejected me and my dying floor, so all the women I'm going to meet are going to reject me. I will make sure that I will do my best not to be rejected. I will worship her. I will go out of my way. So you get what I'm saying? So those are some of the characteristics of a wounded man. So next, I'm going to talk about how to heal a wounded man. How to heal a wounded man. So that is going to be the last section of this. So thanks for watching this, and watch the next one.